I would agree with you that working from home does limit the essential work of building your relationships. It's just harder. And my premise is that it's face-to-face relationships of increasing depth that lead to the important work of we building. So I agree with you. And yes, there are things we can do. I was working with a company recently, and I was working with all their new employees, the big bank. And there were about 30 people, and so many of them had never been to the physical building. And I was doing a kind of poll, and I was asking about what it's like to work from home. And many of them said, I feel lonely, I feel isolated. One woman stayed on later and said she just felt completely disconnected to her new boss. It was just an awful way to be starting a new job. And I was advising the company afterwards, and they really had not done many fun virtual activities. People are zoomed out. It's tiring to be on Zoom all the time. But in deference to that, they missed an opportunity to really engage people in a fun way. So, and again, this is something companies can do for zero cost. You can engage your employees with fun activities using the resources you already have and using technology. I want to tell you about 2 pieces of technology that I have found to be game-changing during this time. And I highly recommend organizations plan a very short, like 1 hour fun event. And part of this is coming from my own experience. I launched a new book on January 12th, just recently, and I didn't have a book party because of the pandemic. And then I realized I'm going to have an online book party. And it turned out to be so much fun. Over 400, almost 500 people signed up to join. We did activities. I had more people at my virtual book party than would have shown up to a physical book party.
Awesome. Yeah.
So the 2 tools, one tool is a newish one. It's called Have you heard of it?
No, but I mean, what do you search for? HMM? Yeah.
Yes, that's what it's really called. It's not a typo.
Yeah.
And it is a fun platform that makes your presentations more interactive, and it's just fun. And if you go check it out, you'll see what I mean. You can put different rooms up. You can put yourself looking like you're in a rainstorm or in a radio. It's clever, and it just makes presentations more engaging. The other tool is Mentimeter.
Okay.
Familiar with this one?
No. This is great. I'm learning new tools. I love when I learn new tools. It's my favorite thing.
These 2 tools I've only learned since the pandemic, and they have transformed my virtual presentation life. So Mentimeter, it's based out of Europe, is an online polling, but it's more than polling. You can do games, and people use their phones. So you can have 100 people in 100 different locations in the world participating on the same quiz or employee engagement, or, you can use it for business purposes, or you can use it just for fun. So using those tools, you can create quizzes, for example, about your organization, true or false. Alex started the company with this much money in his bank account. Or so-and-so has a typing speed of such and such, just fun little things. Then another resource is using people in the organization and just doing little videos. All of us are much more functional with this kind of technology these days, but you could have, top 10 pandemic workspaces. You can have a little contest. Send in your picture of, the biggest workspace or the smallest or most compromised. You could just have fun with it. And because we are each other's colleagues, it's engaging. People want to know, they want to know, like if I said right now, Alex, take a picture of what you're looking out on, right? If I tell you what I'm looking out on, it's not pretty.
Sure.
But it could be fun to find, a few people who'd be willing to share. It's endless, the kind of information, it requires a little bit of revealing of yourself, but especially if somebody like you or other leaders in your organization say to your employees, hey, we're having, unfortunately, a 1-year pandemic, anniversary party. We're going to try to make the best of it. Some organizations, if it's smaller, they'll send a bottle of champagne to every employee. Or other organizations have these cooking things, and they, send all the ingredients and they cook together. But this type of activity, as I said, you can create it for fun for free. You need to have a team of people. Yep. But it takes effort and time, but the payoff is enormous because it's a shared experience that you have instead of seeing each other every day. So I think every single organization should be hosting virtual fun building experiences now. And again, you can't just be like, hey, everybody show up at 5, you got to put some time and effort into this.
Definitely.
But you do it with free resources.
Yeah, that's a great point because, because I remember back when the office life was the life and everyone had to be in the office, and culture was different. I don't know if it's stronger, but like engagement was stronger because you see people every day. You've got the water cooler conversations, the coffee shop walks and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so it was easier to build it. But I do like the thinking around, just doing the virtual kind of engagement activities, and I do like those two topics. But we are almost out of time.
So, one more tip.
Yeah, please. Tip. No, please.
Free giveaways, fun games.
Yes.
Where you might have, hey, how about the business of we as a free tool? That was totally a sales pitch.
I love it. It's here behind me too. If you can see it on my thing right there.
You spend a little bit of money and you can do these wheels. So it's not a competition, right? But it's, just random, somebody's going to win. So that's how you can attract people to join. Or I'm going to tell you my very first job and the time I was fired. You make it enticing. And again, using our stories, our own narratives can really generate excitement.
Fantastic. Now, I've got a few quickfire questions, and then we'll just finish up with how people can get in touch in the book and so on. These are the questions I like to ask everybody on the podcast, and it's 5 simple questions, yeah? Number 1, what book has had the biggest impact on your success, except for the one that you wrote?
What book? Oh, there's so many books. So many books. A book I really found inspiration from is called Loving. It's by Cheryl Cashin. She is a law professor at Georgetown, and it's about the couple named Loving. There was a movie about them. It was a white man and a black woman who were married in Virginia, and it was outlawed and it was awful. But the book itself is about much more. And Cheryl Cashin talks about cultural dexterity. This is her phrase. And cultural dexterity is this idea of reaching out and branching outside of your normal cultural relationships. And I love that idea of cultural dexterity. And I feel like building is encouraging people to do that.
Fantastic. Number 2, what's your number 1 piece of advice for hiring awesome people? Especially now considering the book that you wrote, right? So it's more complex, but what's your number 1 piece of advice?
I think here's what I'll say. It's incumbent upon leaders today to look outside of their own cultural tribe when hiring people, because too many of us means people in the cultural norm, the cultural dominant norm, tend to default to people who look like us, sound like us, pray like us. And I believe we are missing important voices, important skills, and important talent when we have such a narrow pool. So looking outside of that, actively, deliberately challenging ourselves to look outside of that norm.